To use a phrase from competitive PvP gaming, Meta has nerfed their game referral program. We're going to get into the what and the why. It's a Live Open Daily podcast. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the pod. I'm your host, Live Open Mike. If you're not familiar with the MetaQuest referral program, it's basically a system where every single time you bought a game off the Quest store, as long as it costs at least $10, within the app, you could get a link that you could post anywhere you wanted or send it to a friend. And if they use that link to log into their MetaQuest account, it applied a 25% off discount code for them. The benefit to you, the person who originally bought the game and sent the link, is that you got $5 in store credit. Now, there was a ceiling on this. You can only get up to $600 in store credit per year, but especially people who have like big VR communities, content creators, things like that. If you're a smaller creator like me, this program was a godsend because trying to keep up with all the new releases, especially like the last 2 years, because the Quest store has pretty much exploded in the last 2 years. Trying to keep up with all these new releases and get all these reviews out got really expensive, especially since because you are a small creator, you didn't get game keys from developers because they didn't see the return on investment on sending you a key. Which is their right, and I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that as a creator, this gets expensive after a while. But there's a fairly toxic side to this, and before we get into all that toxicity and why Meta made these changes in the first place, let's run through the program as it stands right now. MetaQuest device owners, aka advocates, can refer a particular app to users with mutual follow status who also own MetaQuest devices, i.e. friends with a personalized link. Your personalized referral link can only be generated once per app and only redeemed 3 times. If advocates' friends follow the link, accept the referral while logged into their Meta profile, and purchase the app from the same profile used to accept within 7 days, they will receive a 15% discount on their app purchase, and the advocate will receive a promotional Quest cash up to $5 USD, depending on the app referred. Users can earn $1 for ads priced between $10 and $19.99, $2 for ads priced between $20 and $29.99, $3 for prices between $30 and $39.99, $4 for price between $40 and $49.99, and $5 for apps priced above $50. Advocates must be logged into their profile to receive the credit. The friend will need to type the code FRIEND15 at checkout to obtain the 15% discount for the purchase of the app. The friend can accept and activate the referral link anytime as long as the advocate's link is active. After claiming the app referral, the friend will have 7 days to purchase the app. If the friend chooses not to buy the app immediately, they can go back to the app in the Meta Horizon store within 7 days and the discount will be auto applied. The credit for the advocate will become redeemable 15 days after the friend purchases the app. Once an earned credit is available to an advocate's account, it can be redeemed. Advocates will not be eligible to receive the credit if they refund the referred app within 14 days of sending their referral to a friend. Then the rest of this gets into like legal mumbo jumbo and taxes. It repeats the fact that if you accept a referral, it's locked in your account for 7 days. So let's say you got a referral that you found randomly on like Reddit or something, and then the buddy of yours says, hey, I have that game, let me see my referral link. You have to wait a week for that to fall off before you can take your friend's referral and put it in. I know people who are actually reaching out to Meta support to get referrals removed off of their account so they can use their friends' referrals. So what they've done here is they've basically reduced the amount of discount for the person sending the referral and the person buying the app. For the person buying the app, you're only getting 15% off where you used to get 25%. And for the person who is sending their referral link, you used to get a flat $5 to store credit. Now it is tiered depending on the price of the game itself. And the rule that referrals don't count for games that are under $10, that hasn't changed. That's been there since the referral system first came. The last caveat is that now instead of sending it to anyone, which is something we're going to talk about more in a minute, now you have to be friends or following the person and vice versa. You basically have to know this person directly to be able to apply that. And I've already seen some people trying to game them system because now when they're posting this stuff in like Facebook groups and subreddits that I'm in, now they'll say, hey, reply with your friend name or your follower name on Quest. Here's my name. Be sure to send me a friend request. So now people are going to end up with these like gigantically bloated friends lists. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Meta has not already put a cap on how many friends or followers you can actually have on your MetaQuest account, specifically to ward against this. And then of course they limit it to 3 uses per app. It used to be unlimited uses. Now Meta's tried over the last year or so a couple of different things with their referral program. At one point they changed it, and this was very quick that they changed it back. I think it only lasted like a month or so, but they changed it so if a game had just released on the Quest store, you actually couldn't use a referral for it. You had to wait a certain amount of time. I think it was like a week after the game came out before referrals could become active. I heard it straight from the mouth of 3 different developers that they pushed back on Meta saying, hey, I lost game sales because of this. You need to switch this back. The move to limit it to just 3 uses per referral, that actually changed a few weeks ago because I started seeing that happen in like Discords I was in. A friend of mine actually reached out to me for a discount for Journey of the Foundation, but I live streamed that game on my YouTube channel and I had my referral link splashed in there every single time I streamed the game. So I'd already exceeded like 3 uses for that by the time I sent it to him. So why make all these changes? Well, there's a bunch of different reasons. I'll go through them, and these are in no particular order. I'm not ranking these, I'm just going through them one by one according to my notes here. First, the review system on the store was completely screwed up. About a year ago, if you went to the Meta store right after a game released, let's just say within 5 minutes, there were people saying, here's a 5-star rating or here's a 1-star rating. By the way, use my referral link. It's blah, 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 blah. Now, Meta caught wind of this and they started blocking links from being posted and reviews entirely, but then people started posting different ways around it. So instead of using the actual period in .com, they would spell out dot and put brackets around it, anything to kind of get around the algorithms that were filtering the links out. But there would be games that would get like a dozen reviews within a minute of them being released on the store because it's someone just spamming their referral link. It also really sucked for a lot of communities because you went to like subreddits, Facebook groups, and Discords. This was really bad about a year ago. There would be people who would just show up and say, hey, use my referral link for this game. And that would be all they would post in that group, and they would just spam it in like every single group or whatever they could get into. And that's all they would do, trying to get as much store credit as possible. And it got so bad that there were a lot of admins and moderators for all of these groups putting it in their rules that you were no longer allowed to post a referral link anywhere in there. Most Discords I know actually have a channel separated for referral links, and you can put your links there all you want. I'm in a lot of Discords where there's someone who I will only see posting the referral link and nowhere else. And since I'm in a ton of different VR Discords, I'll just see them hopping around from referral link to referral link, just dropping their links everywhere they can get them, trying to get as much attention to that as possible. But admins were having to like confine those to a specific space, and then administrators on like subreddits, for instance, where you don't have channels where you could put things like that, they just started deleting those altogether. It just got to a point where it's really toxic and gross. The review thing was really egregious because if you're a developer, a lot of like investors, Meta themselves, game publishers will actually look at the number of reviews you have on your store and use that as a gauge of your success. It's like a metric for how well your game is performing. Never mind that the first 50 reviews you got were all just use my referral link, here you go. You weren't getting any true feedback on your game, which means you can't really improve your game. And it got to a point where if you were looking for like an investor or a game publisher, they were asking, okay, how many actual reviews do you have? Not just people who spam the referral link in there. So they're having to go through and manually count that. Again, these are things that actually happen with developers. Another thing it was drastically affecting was pre-orders. Most pre-orders are somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 to 15% or something like that. They're not going to go as crazy to go like 25 or 30 or 40%. But if you have a whole universal program out there where someone can get 25% off your game the instant it comes out, where's their incentive to pre-order the game? Now, a lot of developers, particularly for ones who do like microtransactions, like multiplayer games, we're doing like skin incentives where you get like these custom skins that are only available for pre-orders, or you start with a certain amount of like in-game currency, anything to get pre-orders up for your game. But there's no way any developer was going to discount their game 30% on a pre-order to override the amount of the referral. What was actually happening, and nearly a dozen developers told me this directly, was that they were changing the price of their game. So instead of thinking that their game was a value of somewhere, let's say $10 to $15, they would raise it to $20 to account for the fact that most people they know were going to wait for a referral and then discount it down. There's also a perception of value that happens there where people are evaluating the game and saying, I don't know if it's really worth it for $20, but for $15, that's fine. But if you're a developer and you're planning your budgets and things out for your next fiscal year, and you're looking at how many sales you're going to get off the game and how much revenue you're going to get, if you think your game is worth $15, but you know for a fact people are going to use a referral code the whole time for 25% off, all of a sudden that $15 becomes $11.25. And then of course Meta takes their 30% off the top of that. So now you're losing revenue, and even though your game sales might be high, you're making less per game. Just like review counts and ratings, pre-orders and wishlist numbers are a massive metric that almost every game publisher and every investor looks at to see what the interest is and what the general hype is about your game within the gaming community. And again, if you have a universal 25% off floating around there, no one's going to pre-order your game for 10% off unless you have a very, very heavy incentive tied to that. So it's just making developers' jobs harder, because you really don't want your developers who are trying to publish games to your platform to basically be competing with your own discount system. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Last thing was competing with Meta's own other sales efforts. So Meta runs sales almost every week at this point. They ran the big summer sale most of the month. You see bundles all the time. There's like the July summer sale or the June summer sale or the spring sale and the winter sale, where games will be marked anywhere from, let's say, like 30 to 40% off, something like that. But the reason those discounts are that extreme is because they're fighting against their own 25% off referral program. So now pulling it back to 15%, and limiting it to 3 users per referral means that you can now build entire campaigns around, hey, we got this massive July sale going on, go ahead and buy a bunch of games now, as opposed to, well, the July sale says that's 20% off, but I can get it for 25% off a referral now, so I'm just going to use that. In short, the referral program was actually counterintuitive to the other incentives and marketing that Meta was trying to put out for games that may not necessarily be new releases, but they still want them to drive sales on the store. Not every game has the word of mouth popularity of something like Among Us VR, Beat Saber, Job Simulator, Gorilla Tag, so on and so forth. For a lot of these other games, they're trying to build marketing campaigns and get the word out about it. If you're fighting against the referral system, it's just hampering your efforts. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, changing the credit amount I thought was really interesting because now they're limiting the $5 store credit to any app $50 or over. There aren't a lot of apps that are $50 or over. To my knowledge, let's see, there was the Arizona Sunshine 2 bundle, the deluxe version, not the main version. The main version was just 50 bucks. There was Asgard's Wrath 2. Assassin's Creed Nexus, when it first came out, was 40 bucks. Iron Man VR was $40. Resident Evil 4 was $40. It's very rare that we're going to see games start going over 50, but I think because they're putting this language specifically in there, we're going to start seeing that stuff more and more. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw like Alien Rogue Incursion go up to like 50 or 60 bucks, or like Batman Arkham Shadows go up to 50 or 60 dollars. I don't really see Behemoth doing that because that's not a known IP, but frankly, the price of video games has been pretty stagnant for like the last 30 years or so, despite them going digital only. And I think part of the reason why the prices haven't gone up is because of the move to digital only, because now you're not doing hard copies, you're not dealing with like distribution and manufacturing and all that. That cut out some of the overhead of manufacturing these games so they could keep the price flat. But now we're past all that, and most people are buying just digital copies of their games. They're not really buying physical copies. This isn't really a thing in VR unless you're in Sony's ecosystem because of companies like Perp Games, but generally people are just buying digital games anyway, especially the younger generation of gamers coming up. But most top tier VR games up until towards the end of last year when Arizona Sunshine 2 started this trend of like 50 bucks, you rarely went over 40 bucks for a game. Now, the Quest Plus program, Meta's subscription service, actually got an overhaul too. When I first signed up for Quest Plus, I was actually getting referral links for every game I got free on the program, which didn't really make a whole lot of sense because I was paying $8 a month, getting 2 games for essentially $4 each, and I could turn around and get $5 in store credit by using a referral for that. That didn't make a whole lot of sense. I was actually getting back more than I was putting in, given I was paying basically $4 per game if I didn't already own it myself. So Meta did have to change this, and frankly, I'm surprised it took them this long to do it. So now what happens is if you go to your referral program in your phone, there's actually 3 different tabs. There's one for the device itself. So if someone buys a new Quest and activates a new Meta account, you both get store credit for that. There's one for your regular games, the games you actually paid money for. And then there's a separate section that says Quest Plus. And what that reads, and then there's a separate tab that says Meta Quest Plus. I'm gonna read this straight from my phone here. Invite a friend to try an app you think they like. They'll receive a free trial of MetaQuest Plus so they can start playing. You can receive 1 month of MetaQuest Plus for free if they become a paying subscriber. Terms apply. If you click on the terms, it takes you to this exact blog post I already read from earlier, and there's no Quest Plus stuff there. So I don't know what the terms are, so I can't explain them to you, but they did overhaul the system here. So if I click on like Green Hell VR, because I got that game on Quest Plus, I didn't own it before I signed up for the program. There's a different kind of link for it. Meta-Quest Plus is down the URL itself. And it says your friend will receive a free trial of MetaQuest Plus so they can access Green Hell VR and a revolving catalog of games. You can receive 1 month of MetaQuest Plus for free if they become a paying subscriber to MetaQuest Plus. You could earn up to 3 months free per calendar year. Again, terms apply. Click on terms, it doesn't take you to anything. And the games that are offered here are the games that are in the Quest Plus catalog, which was like this rotating catalog of free games that you got that don't change on a monthly basis. Let's see here: Green Hell VR, Tetris Effect Connected, Walkabout Mini Golf, Onward, The Climb Until You Fall, Jurassic World Aftermath Collection, Fruit Ninja, Sports Scramble, Hand Physics Lab, A Township Tale, Demio, which I actually don't know why Demio is in Quest Plus, and for that matter, I don't know why Red Matter is in Quest Plus for me, because I actually bought those games myself. Eastspire 1, also bought that game myself. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. For that matter, so is Walkabout, 2MD Football Unleashed, and Wallace and Gromit and The Grand Getaway. So because these games are in the Quest Plus catalog, that's like a rotating, it changes like every 6 to 8 weeks or so, and sometimes they'll just change out one game and put another one in. All these games are available to try if you get your friend to sign up for Quest Plus, but they're not in your normal library. Now, I said before when I did the episode on Max Muster's 90% off discount frenzy that VR in general really has a very bad discount culture, and there were a lot of people who weren't buying games when they first came out because they would just wait for months or weeks or whatever for a massive sale to happen, or just use a referral, which was actually cannibalizing the marketing efforts of a lot of these developers. I'm glad Meta did not do away with the referral program completely, but they did need to pull it back a bit. This seems to about as close to a happy medium as we're gonna get. It allows developers in Meta to do their own promotions, their own bundles and things like that without being hampered with that 25% albatross hanging around their necks. And it cuts out a lot of the link spamming that you would see in like reviews and discords and Facebook groups and subreddits that I've seen for the last 18 months or so. So We'll see how this pans out. I'm curious if this affects the sales of developers. I'm going to personally reach out to some developers to see if this change in the referral system has moved the needle for them one way or the other, or if they've seen like a drastic shift in how people are buying their games, if they're using our referral codes, things like that. If any other changes come to the referral program, I'll report it here on the podcast. That's a wrap for this episode. You get Live Open daily on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and iHeart. Also check me out on Twitch. I stream VR there several days a week, twitch.tv/liveopenmic. Thanks, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.